Paul Hoffman, thank you very much for joining me today on the bridge. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Dan. It's a privilege to be here talking to you. It's good to see
You
your
know,
face
it's
again.
it is. It's been a few years. It's been a
Yeah,
few years.
yeah. My
Um,
wife and I remember you fondly when you stopped in to visit us that time. So,
yeah, that was a good that was a fun event, and it was a lot of well, and that's why I invited you is really so to the guests out there. We're Paul is a safety advocate and he's a safety professional. He's been working in the field for a bunch of years, and when they had me out to speak, it was just so apparent by his introduction that he was just so passionate about safety that I was worried that I wasn't going to be passionate enough with my keynote address. As soon as when he started talking, I thought, oh my gosh, if he keeps on going, I'm going to be in trouble here. And I just it's that kind of thing that I wanted to key into. So I wanted to be able to ask you some questions today. And thanks so much for joining. This is wonderful,
oh,
awesome. So let's start with some easy stuff. So how did you get into the role of a safety advocate, safety advisor? I know you've been in leadership roles. You've done a bunch of different things, but how did you actually get into safety?
construction. I worked 25 years as a roughneck. I still consider myself an old roughneck. And, came back from Russia. I was working overseas in Russia, and I came back from there and I took some safety courses. And I was probably the oldest guy there at that point, taking these courses to be safety watch. And they were asking the class, "What are you doing here? Why do you want to be a safety guy?" And they came up to me and they said, "Well, why do you want to be a safety guy?" I said, "Well, because I hate them." I said, "In my career, I was left to die by safety guys in different incidents. They're ignored. And so I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to make sure that the guys are out there in the field working, know that someone's not going to leave them there and that they will not be the last man standing by themselves. That I'll be there with them." So
Awesome.
that's been my mission ever since I started. It doesn't always sit well with safety guys, but I think that's my background before. I worked 25 years, and safety guys were nobody's favorite flavor out in the field.
Yeah.
So, but I realize now, after 25 years of doing safety, that safety has to be in the field. Where it has to be is in the heart of every worker that's out there. And that's how you grow safety.
100%. Paul, can I ask you? So when you first got back from Russia, was it stuff that happened in Russia? Is there a story you can tell us about that kind of put you on this path? Was it stuff that happened in
No, not
Alberta?
really. And the Russian work that we were doing had fallen apart. And so I came home and I thought, well, here's an opportunity to do something and get some training. I had to upgrade my training.
Yeah.
It was an opportunity to start work. And then I did go do safety watch for a few months. And after I was done that, a good friend of mine offered me a job at his company. And they were looking for someone to do safety. They had someone doing safety, but nobody liked doing safety back in those days because it was new to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I took the job that nobody else wanted. And they said, well, you can do this and you can become a journeyman in this trade. And I said, well, I don't think there's time for me to do both. And I'll take care of the safety. And so that's what I've been doing for 25 years. Looking after
And so
safety.
was there? But you said you were left in the lurch, or you were left.
That was over when we were doing a wildcat blowout there. The Red Adair came up to put it out. And we were assigned to take the substructure off the weld. And so there was two of us going in. My job was to go up into the substructure of the rig and pass out the hoses that we're getting rid of so we could skid the substructure away. I had a safety man, and the motor man was on the outside of the substructure. He was coiling the hoses up. And there was an accumulator hand on the side of the lease. And he was just taking down his equipment for the hoses that we were using. So, as well as blowing in a 10,000 PSI out of a 21-inch hole, it's over 1,000 parts per million sour gas. We've been blowing condensate all over the substructure for the better part of a week. And so my job was to go up there and climb up through all the girts. Got a Scott pack on, not supplied air. You climb up through all these girts, and it's 30 below, 35 below. And I get up there and I start passing out the hoses. And I think, well, I'm going to look out through this hole that I'm passing the hoses through. And there is my motorman's down there coiling up the hoses. And I look over in the side of the lease where the accumulator hand is, and there he is with my safety hand. And they're standing there without their safety masks, with nothing on. And I look around, and there's nobody there underneath the substructure with me. And now my bell starts going off on my Scott pack. So, that means you don't have much time left to get out of there. I just kind of thought, well, there's no use panicking now. I got my stuff done, got out of there, got to the side of the lease, and then I did become a bit unglued. And so that kind of sat with me for a while. They'd left a bad taste. And back in those days, safety guys were probably the guys who, on those kind of projects, you'd go find in the bar at the end of the night. If they're still sober, they could come and be a safety guy in the morning. There wasn't a lot of training. There wasn't a lot of thought put into what they were about at that point, lots of times. So, or at least that's how it seemed to me.
At the time.
So, I got into that. I'd worked on different gas plant turnarounds where they seemed less than attentive to what should be going on. So I had a distrust of them, and I think safety people need to be trusted. When you're out there in the field, they need to trust you. They need to know you got their back. And that's what I come to do.
So how do you build bridges with people to make sure that they know that they can trust you?
I'll tell the workers when I first introduce myself, I realize my paycheck comes from the company. I realize as a safety guy that I'm bound by regulations to do certain things as well. But I said, that's not where my heart is. I said, my heart is with the people that are waiting for you at home. I said, someone wants you home every day. I said, I've been around where people don't get to go home. And I said, that's a horrible place to be. And it breaks hearts. The people that are waiting for you at home every freaking day love you. And they want you home every day. They got supper on the table for you every day. And I said, that's who I work for, because those people have no recourse to ensure that you're doing things safely or that you have the right tools provided by the company. I said, I'm their representative here. When I come and get on you, it's because I want you to go home. I want you to go spend time with your family. And I'll often ask them, I say, okay, put your hand up. Who here wants to get hurt today? I said, who here wants to die today? And I started talking to them like that. And then lots of times it takes a while to sell the message. It really does. But you got to stay consistent. And I talked to them about people loving them and wanting them home. And I talked to them about, in our industry, there's workers 25 to 45 years old. It's endemic. All the fatalities in industry, we're 70% of the fatalities. And I read the ones about the young guys that went to work, 19 to 25. 1 year in Alberta, like there was half a dozen, or over 10 years, there was 14 guys. And I read off their stories and tell their name. I said, you know what these guys all had in common? And I do this at my lectures. And said, well, they didn't do their pre-job hazard assessment. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. And I said, maybe. He said, well, they were dumb. I said, no, I don't think so. I said, what they all had in common was they all had a freaking name. They all got up in the morning thinking they're going home at the end of the day. They all had someone that loved them waiting for them every freaking day. You guys all have that same person. And you don't think it's going to happen to you. And it happened. It happened to those guys. They didn't think it was going to happen to them. Every incident I've ever investigated, I didn't think that was going to happen to me.
Yeah, every time. I just guarantee you, and I know it just from the short time we spent together in the field, that they see the passion. They see the heart. You wear your heart on your sleeve with this stuff, and it's inspiring. I'm glad to see it. And you still do. It's been 5 or 6 years. I thought maybe you're getting old. You're not getting old yet, man.
69 this summer I turned.
69. Are you going to quit working ever, or are you just going to keep on going?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to go. One of the things you said, what's your inspiration and what drives you? I actually believe it's a mission for me. I really do. And I mean, I don't know when we were talking there before, if I told you about my lectures at the college and heart-based safety, but that's what I talk about, right? And I talk to guys' hearts.
Well, tell us. Yeah.
Yeah. And, my son said to me one day, he said, you're great. He said, I'd like to be a safety guy. So he said, you make college kids cry, Dad, at your lectures. He said, nobody makes college kids cry. He said, you touch their hearts. I've had 450 pipeliners come out, and old boys have been at it for 40 years. And he said, put water in my eyes today.
Yeah.
I'm going to go call my wife. tell her I'm doing safety and I'm coming home. Because I tell them they're the safety guys, right? I said, every one of you is a freaking safety guy. I said, I'm a safety manager. I said, I don't need much of a safety program to sit at my computer. This is for you. Every tool here is for you to use.
Yeah.
It's your tool. It's your safety.
What common mistakes do you see out there from safety professionals or maybe leadership that get in the way of this message and of the understanding that people need to take care of themselves?
A lot of people come at it from a regulatory perspective.
Mm-hmm.
They come from a different background, right? They speak from the book. And I've never been able to do that because, books were never my friends, except for looking things up, right? But I mean, my 25 years in the patch, that's what I learned. And so that's just how
Why
I
does
do
the regulatory stuff not see? And this is something I've heard already with a few episodes I've done a number of times. Why and from high up leadership, from field people, this message comes through. Why do you think the regulatory stuff seems to fail or seems to maybe not
because for just about everything we do, at least in my industry, there's new things coming out all the time. Seems like every time we have some sort of issue, throw more regulations at it, make more rules, make it harder, and give the guys something more to try and learn about and understand about the way they're supposed to do it. Whereas, if I find someone doing something wrong, something as simple as not wearing your safety glasses, right? Take mine. You take mine because you need them out here to do the work. I'm going to go and I'll get some different ones, right? And I think a lot of safety guys forget they need to be grateful to every worker whose path they cross. They need to know that they are the servant for that guy. They need to know that they're there to help him get home. Whatever he needs, they're there to get it for him. And that guy doing the work, because he's working hard and he's making money for the company, he's making your salary. And so to me, it becomes a greed thing. I want those boys all working. I want to make my salary.
Yeah.
So, and I tell them that. I said, I'm a greedy old son of a bitch. I want you guys to go to work every day so you're making your salary because you're making mine. Because if you don't have guys working, you don't need safety guys. So make sure you stay working. You're going to hate me because you're going to come to work every day healthy and happy.
Awesome.
So I think we need to talk to everybody's hearts. I really believe that, and I was trying to think about how to make it a more detailed message and stuff like that. But I think, if we go out and talk to these guys with gratitude, even the guys that make mistakes, when you're doing investigations, stand up for them. I come from an imperfect background. The stuff that we were doing on that blow was stuff that would never fly anywhere in today's safety world, right? But we're out there getting that stuff done. And a lot of guys in my industry are getting it done, guys. And they need to know they have someone there that understands that attitude. Mm-hmm. Isn't going to lose it on them because they forgot to tie their boots up or they got low-cut boots instead of high-cut boots. Those guys don't need shit. They're out there working in the mud and the blood and the guts to make my salary. They need my support and every bit of guidance I can give, whatever I can do to get them home.
I remember when I was out west working in the oil, it just occurred to me more and more, and I speak to this sometimes when I'm talking in groups. It's not just your salary. It's actually building the country. It's actually keeping the country running. It's actually, it's such, and in the last few years especially, it's been such almost like a redheaded stepchild, for lack of a better word, right? Like it's an abused industry, and it's almost frowned upon, it seems like, from other parts of Canada. I think that's starting to go away now because I think that we're starting to catch the light. Even like I'm out east, I'm in Ontario now.
Yeah.
But I just remember being so grateful for all these guys on these projects. I mean, 1,100 guys on a project, and they're out there and it's 30 below and they're risking their lives. And you're right, man. Somebody gets killed on a project, you barely see their name in the paper, right?
Yeah.
If it was a cop or a fireman, or some sort of tragic, violent crime, you'd see everything, right? But when it's the guys that are actually building the country, they're lost, right? It doesn't seem fair.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
It's devastating when you lose people.
Yeah.
And so go out there and be a beacon of hope.
Tell me a story, something that happened that is a feather in your cap, or something that made your day out there. I mean, you've had a lot of years.
Yeah. Oh, I think
You're
it's
allowed to
just like
brag.
this. Pardon me.
You're allowed to brag for a minute. You're allowed.
It's really simple. I don't have a specific one, I don't think, Dan, to tell you. But I have lots of guys come up to me and tell me, thank you. Thank you for being a good safety guy. I have young guys come and say, thank you to me. And that's all I'm there for. That's all I need out of it. That's my success.
Yeah.
People thank me for looking after them. To me, that's as good as it gets. When I know I've touched people's hearts, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, Dan. I go talk about love. And love can go across all denominations, right? And love's a very powerful thing. And that's why I talk about it in safety too, because it's a powerful tool. Because everybody has someone that loves them. And when they think about it, it touches their heart. And that's where I plant my safety seed, right inside there. And when they come up after me and tell me thank you, that's my success. They're glad to have that seed in there. They're glad to know that they're cared for. And they're glad to know that it's okay for them to care too. And I tell them, I said, you know what? All these are your tools. I said, I don't care if it takes you a day or 2 days to get it done. I want you safe. We'll worry about production. We'll get flack for that, but we'll take care of it. First, you do it right. Wow, things don't always move as quick as we want. But singular success, we'd have to sit and have a beer. Tell lots of stories.
Yeah.
But in my heart, it is a huge success for me. Just the gratitude, listen to people say thank you. That's why I developed that lecture. It's called Heart-Based Safety. And I talk to those young kids at the college, for example, and I use the same kind of thinking in my own. When I do group talks, and I talk to them about people dying. And I talk to them about how it takes that long for someone to die, and how people will say to me, "Oh, I was just going to do that for a minute." Well, how long do you think it takes a guy to fall 20 meters from the tower? That long. So, tell me you're doing something wrong for just a minute. It could possibly be 59.9 seconds too long. So, just for a minute's a bad excuse.
Yes.
I believe that my mission is to change it on both sides of the fence too. And that's why I liked your podcast idea of bridging it, because I believe management needs to change, and have that heart seed planted in them as well. They got to go there and touch their workers and get familiar with their team.
Yeah.
Personal with them. That's how I develop it on my project. And you can't always get everybody, but you can get a team. You can develop a team. You can give them the same message, and they can take your message out. And it spreads.
It's all about that care-based safety, and it's all about hearts. Like it's all about love and service. And that's what he talked about.
Yeah.
That's all I'm hearing from you. And it's just great to know, that there's people on both sides of that fence doing it.
Oh, yeah. I believe I don't know how I could do it any different.
Yeah, I hear you. That's how I played it. I mean, it was the only way I could do it is to actually go to the smoke pit, find out what's going on with people, and actually talk to them and what's actually really happening out there.
Yeah, go hang with them. Sit there and watch them do their welding, or sit there and watch them do their lifts, and
just let me just stand over your shoulder here.
Yeah,
how can I help you? How can I help you do this? What do you need from me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I go out nowadays, and I'm taking lots of pictures of the site we're at. What are you doing? So it's just cool shit for me to see the stuff we do down here at work where I'm working now. I just love what you guys are doing. You're doing incredible work. Oh, they feel good.
Yeah.
They feel good about that. I want to keep driving that to them. And, one of my messages would be to senior management is to remember that every worker has the same kind of dreams as you do. They all have the same hopes, the same dream. They're exactly the same. And you're in a different role. But that person that's down there in the ditch on the shovel is no different than the guy that's up there signing the checks. They all got people that love them. They all got people that care about them. They'll go people that want them home.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice do you have for people coming into the industry after so many years? So
Don't
coming into safety as a job in oil, maybe in oil and gas, maybe just in construction, maybe whatever you like. What advice would you have for somebody that's actually a newbie coming out as a safety officer, safety advisor?
don't do it. Don't do it unless you like beating yourself in the head with a hammer. Don't do it if you're not ready to touch people's heart. Don't do it if you're not ready to care. Don't do it if you're not ready to tell the truth. Don't do it if you're not ready to stand alone by yourself. Don't do it if you fear. Don't do it unless you got all your heart into the game. We don't need no half-ass safety guys out there. We don't need safety guys out there that are just in it for the money. We need guys out there that want to grow it and make it right, because every one of us wants to go home. Everyone.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. What 3 rules would you hope that your son carries on and had when he walked out your door and lives with?
Never lie. Never lie. If you lie to someone, you lose their trust. When I'm doing my safety, there ain't no bullshit. I never lie. Never steal from them. Never steal from anybody. In my industry and what I do, if you're out there bullshitting people, you're stealing their time. You're stealing their attention for no value. You got to use it wisely. You don't steal. And always remember, the last words you give to someone, in case you never see him again, is, I love you, brother. See you soon. I love you, Dan.
I love you, brother.
Catch up soon.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you came on, and I hope that we can do this again.
Dan, I hope our paths cross and we can sit and have a visit in
Absolutely.
person. And if you're out in Alberta and you were to give me a call, it'd be my honor. My wife would love to see it. She said, oh, I still think of him as a Saskatchewan Rough Rider. She said, I said, but it was an Eskimo ring that you were wearing.
Yeah, there's no Eskimos left, Paul. There's no Eskimos left.
I know, and I quit watching them after that. I became a Riders fan by default.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, that story's not over yet. We may have a beer about that one too. So,
yeah. Thanks very much for inviting me, Dan.
My pleasure. It's
been an honor for me.
Yeah, it's been an honor to talk to you again, and I look forward to seeing you again, Paul. You take care.